Today we're going to talk about mastering your mindset in fitness. And this is something that we are both super passionate about and something that we hold quite close to our hearts and teach our clients every single day of the week, because what we know is mindset is one of the biggest dictators of whether you will reach your goals or not. And we need to be making sure that our mindset is strong when we are going into our fitness. I do actually have a question for you. Have you ever, you look so surprised.
I've been put on the spot.
Have you ever struggled with your mindset in fitness?
I'm not going to lie. I feel like I'm pretty privileged not to have struggled in ways that I think a lot of people struggle, just because I don't know why.
No, it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. I feel like I'm really blessed to have that.
So what do you, like, you would have gone through though periods of being unmotivated and uninspired and those sorts of things?
Yes, I do. I have definitely gone through those things. I think the way that I view my health and fitness is always, like, it's a long-term thing. It's a long-term game, and it doesn't matter what's going to come up. I'm going to do it anyway because I've told myself I will, and that's what I need to do. So I think that's how I look at it. And, you know, yes, I've felt unmotivated, but I'll find ways around it.
Yeah, that's such a good way to be, because you and I come from two completely different backgrounds with fitness. Like, my fitness journey was like heavy restriction, all or nothing mindset, not being able to follow through long term with anything because I was so heavily focused on having to be perfect, disordered eating. Like, it was a whole thing. It was a whole kettle of fish. And to hear someone else's, like, your perspective, it's so, I'm like, how?
I know. I do feel very blessed to be in the mindset that I've always been in. I definitely, like, there's things that I've struggled with in terms of, and I think I've mentioned it before, in terms of seeing, you know, the one and only struggle that I really had was, I guess, when I got into the coaching space, seeing how lean and how, you know, differently other coaches approach their own health and fitness journey and how they look. And I started to put heaps of pressure on myself to look a certain way in order to be taken, you know, seriously, quote unquote.
I hate that. I hate that so much. Only because, like, people do look at someone's body and automatically assume that they're a good coach and can get you results, but that's, like, not always the case. But I also understand the comparison thing, because I've been through that myself, where I'm, like, looking at other coaches and what they're doing and, like, the bodybuilders, and then going kind of questioning my own abilities when it has nothing to do with that.
Nah, it doesn't. I think I've gotten to such a great place with it. I'm like, that's just none of my business.
No,
anymore.
I'm the same. I'm the same. And I mean, like, I'm going to just continue to put weight on now. So everybody already knows I'm pregnant by this point.
I was like, oh, big reveal. I've realized we've already
revealed this. It's been revealed. But this is my thing. I'm actually struggling with that at the moment, to be honest with you. Like, my body's changing so much at the moment.
I never would have even, like, thought about that.
No, well, because I guess you're not going through it, right? Like, I know I'm, like, still so, like, tiny, and I'm not, like, I'm only up a kilo, but it's like I'm holding so much more fluid, and, like, my boobs are changing, and, like, my belly's everything's changing, and I'm like, holy shit.
So the beginning.
Yeah, it's only the beginning. I know I've got such a long way to go. But anyway, getting back to it. So I know I asked you that question because I know today we're going to talk more about, like, motivation and discipline, and I wanted your experience on these two things because I feel like your opinions will be a little bit different to mine. Like, what do you do if you're feeling super unmotivated and you know that, because obviously it's easier, right, to say you got to just be disciplined than to actually just be disciplined. How do you navigate times of being unmotivated?
I think there's a few things that I do. I look at my big goal. What is it? I realign myself with my goal, which I know we always talk about doing, but it's so important to do that, because at the end of the day, if you don't know what your goal is, you're going to get bored, and there's not going to be anything at the end to look at and to work towards. So I realign myself, whether that is through just a reflection, you know, while I'm driving my car, maybe even journaling. Sometimes I definitely do that if I'm feeling off with my fitness goals. And then also I just understand that, you know, sometimes my capacity and my motivation is going to be different to other times. And I just look at what can I do in this moment. And that means, like, in the next week, next fortnight, next month. I look at it short term to see, like, what can I do in this next month to get myself, you know, to keep myself going in terms of momentum, because I think momentum's the one biggest thing that, like, everyone struggles with, in terms of if you fall off the momentum wagon, it's so much harder to get back into the swing of things. So I think I've seen a lot of people talk about how they hate the word getting back on track, and I honestly
hate it too.
Yeah, I do agree with that because I think, like, I'm always on track, because my track is all, like, it's there.
It's
like,
just whatever it is.
It's whatever it is, and it's whatever it is at the time. So it's up to you to decide, you know, what does on track look like for you right now can look different to what it's previously looked like, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's such a good way to look at it. You know what? You just saying that now, what the vibe I get is like you've got a lot of self-trust.
Yes.
Which is great, because I think that's where if you really deep dive into your mindset and why people go into these all or nothing mindsets or struggle with staying on track and, you know, fall off track, if you will, it sounds like it's a lack of self-trust. But not only does it sound like that, I can relate to that, because that used to be me. It was the lack of trust in myself to be able to get back on track. And momentum was so important, because if you lost momentum, you wouldn't know if you could get back to it. And that's where that all or nothing comes in. And then you go, if I'm not all in, you almost know that you're all out. And it's like a subconscious thing, but it comes back to self-trust. And I've only literally just, like, that's just an aha moment for me.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought about it like that.
Me either. So I actually really love that, because I think like some of you guys listening to this right now might be able to resonate with this too and go, fuck, like it actually is self-trust. And it's, again, then kind of prompts the question of, okay, well, why don't you trust yourself enough to be able to just get back to doing the things that you said you're going to do?
I think in our case, I will have to acknowledge the fact that we're quite privileged in terms of we have a good education behind what we do. So I would say it's so much easier for me to behave this way, because I know what I need to do. I have no issues at all with that. But also it's a thing of, you know, self-trust in terms of, if I've done it before, I can do it again. So it's just constant proof to yourself that you're capable, that you can do it, and that's it. You just have to keep showing up for yourself and proving that you've done it before.
It's almost like that saying of, it's not that deep. Like the deeper you think about it, and I'm so bad for this, but like the deeper you think about it and the more that you make it mean something, the harder it's going to feel. Whereas if you kind of pull a Robbo, because that's what you're like, you're very much like it's not that deep, just move on type of person. Yeah. And I think that works in your favor.
I remember when I was like, I've always had this approach to like health and fitness, and there have been times where like years ago I would literally train. Oh my God, everyone makes fun of me for this. What? You made fun of me for this. I'll train. This is awful to admit, but I'll go and do like 2 exercises.
Oh yeah, I fucking hate this. She pisses me off.
The thing is, sometimes I'm like, well, whatever, like I'll go in, I'll be like, I genuinely do not have the capacity to do my training session at its full. So I'll do 2 exercises. I'll push to failure in all of them. I'll do all of them. The 2 in all 2. But hey, and the thing is, because I'll do that for weeks on end, I've still trained, and it's better than not doing anything at all. And I remember so many people making fun of that before, like, because I wasn't a coach back then, and they'd be like, oh, what's the point of even going? You just went to the gym 30 minutes ago and now you're already back. And I'm like, yeah, I still went though. And like, you know, to me, something is better than nothing, because that's how I've always managed to never not train and never not focus on something.
I think when you explained it to me the first time, I was like, that's just fucking laziness. But now, hang on, hear me out. Now that I'm like hearing it in a different context, it makes so much more sense. And I'm like, oh, I'm the dickhead, because I'm the one that's like, I'm that person that's like, 2 exercises, what's the point? Yeah. But how bad is that? Because you are right. It's like, what if you could go do 2 exercises, like 2 compound lifts really, really well. You're there for 25 minutes, you get in, you get out, but you've still trained. And also you'd hold your physique so much better.
Yeah. And I've always done that. And don't get me wrong, like, sorry, when I say always done that, that's not my only training
That's
sessions.
actually programs.
But that's how I go about like little periods of unmotivation. I'm like, well, honestly, can I go to the gym for 30 minutes today? Yeah, if I just get up and do it. And then I'll just go and do that, and then I'll feel better for it.
Well, it's breaking it down into bite-sized pieces, hey? Because my biggest thing's always been like, when I felt unmotivated or uninspired, it would then feel like such a big task for me when I open up my program and there's like 5 exercises for me to complete. And then I'm like, get in my head more, because then I'm thinking I've got to muster up the courage to do all 5, because it's, again, you either do it or you don't.
That's when I'd shut my eyes on the rest.
Yeah, I don't know why I have never actually thought about that. Like just going and doing, don't get me wrong, there's been times, and actually this is a really helpful tip for me. There's been times where like I would be sitting there going, fuck, I really don't want to go to the gym today. And then I was super unmotivated. And instead of not going, I just said to myself, I don't have to push to failure. I don't have to do 100%. I don't have to train so hard and sweat and whatever. If I just go and move my body and do like a 40% effort session, that'll still feel good, and that's enough. And what's always been good is that's taken the pressure off, so that when I've gone into the gym, I've been a little bit more calm. And then there's been times where I have just done the 40% and it's been fine. There's also been times that I've gotten there, done the first exercise and gone, well, I'm in it now, I feel good. And then I have actually pushed and completed the session with the same intensity I would initially do it with, because it's just getting there is that hardest part. What about discipline? Like, because I know that, again, you talk about how educated we are, but in terms of discipline, have you ever struggled with like being disciplined, or are you somebody that's like, because I feel like you don't see discipline as the same way I do.
How do you see discipline?
Well, I see discipline as like, you are so strong-minded in the fact that you will go. So like the way I see discipline is like, not I'm just going to go and do 2 exercises. It's I don't care how I feel. This is the plan. I'm going and I'm executing.
Oh yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah.
No, I don't do that. But I have discipline in other ways in terms of like, I don't want to sound
just
lazy, but I just find that, you know, discipline in terms of when I say I do my 2 exercises, I don't mean I'm completely off the grid lazing around the rest of the time. I'm likely working really long hours. I'm following through basically like 90 to 100% on my nutrition.
Yeah.
And I'm doing all of, you know, for that week, I'm like, I'm going to focus on my steps. And that's what I do because that's what I'm capable of doing. So in terms of that discipline, I follow through on the other things. It's just sometimes the training aspect may have to pull back a little bit.
I would argue, though, that doesn't sound like discipline to me. That sounds just like it's habits that you've ingrained, which are now, it's like autopilot.
It's not even autopilot, because to me, it's like I don't want to do those things. I don't want to, sorry. I do want to do those things, but it's like it's easier not to do those things.
Yeah.
But I tell myself it's important because the discipline is there in terms of I check, you know, have I prepped my food? No, I'm going to do it. Even if I'm tired, I have to do it anyway because that's what I've told myself I'll do.
Yeah, I understand. Whereas, see, for me, like, I look at the fact that if I'm not training, I'm still eating really well. I'm still doing my meal prep and doing all the things. But like that to me feels so habitual that it's almost like that's so habit based that it's not really a disciplined thing because it's just what you do in your life, if you know what I mean. But then the thing is, right, getting there is so hard and people have to be disciplined to get there because you don't have the habits until you build them.
Yeah. In terms of like how other people can build habits, I think it's important to recognize that, you know, my habits are going to look different to to people that I follow on Instagram who are bodybuilders because like my goals aren't the same. But I also really look up to that sort of level of discipline and I apply it in my own ways because some of our clients, for example, haven't been to a gym before and they have that anxiety of going. So we focus on other habits that build that discipline up. So by the time that they've done this for 3 or 4 months in terms of following through on their nutrition, following through on their steps, then the idea of adding another habit and then adding another sort of thing that they need to be disciplined with is easier for them.
Well, because they're not trying to implement everything at once, which is where most people get stuck. Do you know where a lot of people get stuck? I would say 90% of people get stuck in the spot of before they've built and solidified the habits, they give up. They don't see it through long enough to have this become habitual. And then they look up to everyone and wonder why they're not like X person or Y person. And it's because you just haven't seen yourself stay the course for as long as what other people probably have, which brings it back to that whole saying of it's not always going to feel good. Because what I notice is, you know, we'll even have clients come into our service and by week 10, week 12, they're like, oh, I'm ready to finish up. I can go out on my own or I just want to do something else or it's not as much of a priority or whatever. And a lot of the time when you actually look at why these things are happening, it's because they are bored. To be frank, they're bored. They haven't built those habits completely. And, you know, whilst you might have yourself in a good routine, you've never done it on your own. And then what I tend to see as well is like people then come back and then they start from ground zero again. And then you get this fucking cycle that starts with habit building. And I don't know how, it's so difficult to say you just got to see it through because it's so hard when you are feeling uninspired to do it. Hey.
Yeah, that's why I always take a really gradual and slower approach. It depends on the client, of course. It depends on the person. But I think the slower you approach it and the less you see it as like a massive goal at the end, you're going to see it through that way and it's easier to maintain this.
Yeah, well, comes back to as well, like how far ahead have you set your goals and what timeline are you on?
Well, it's also important to understand that, you know, I hate the idea of not relying on motivation, relying on discipline, but you just need to be okay with the fact that your progress isn't always going to feel good. It's not going to feel comfortable because that's the whole point.
Well, you're doing something different.
Yeah, doing something different. It's the whole point of sitting in the discomfort. understanding that that is honestly required to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, I think it's expectations.
Yes.
It's like the expectation you have of how hard or easy the journey is going to be versus the reality of it. And I also think the expectation of like how quick you can get there or how long it's going to take. And a lot of people, there's a saying, I can't remember what the saying is, but it's like you underestimate. What's the saying?
I know what you're trying to say.
Oh my God.
I don't know
That's
the saying.
Gonna piss me off now. Anyway, but yeah, it's like people underestimate how long it's going to take to get there. Oh, the saying is people underestimate what they can do in a day, but overestimate. No, wait. They
fill in the blanks.
Yeah, do that. It's like, I swear it's like people underestimate how much they can do in a week, but overestimate how much they can do in a day. I'm almost certain that's the
something
saying.
like that, yes.
But my point is, that was totally irrelevant at this point. My point is, though, it's like if you are overestimating or underestimating, rather, how hard something's going to be or how much longer it's going to take, and then that expectation doesn't match the reality of it, which I know I always talk about, you end up in this position where, like, you're going to start to feel really crap because you're going to feel like you failed or you haven't done enough or, you know, unmotivated because where you're at isn't where you expect it to be. And then it just becomes this whole thing. So I think as well, like, I also think it's hard to set expectations of what it's going to be like the first time round, because if you don't know and you've never done it before, then you don't know what it's going to be like. So a bit of a tip with that one, first of all, obviously lean on a coach because they're going to support you. But we always say that. Another thing is, why can't we just speak to people who have maybe done what you want to do and ask for their opinion and advice on what it's like to get there? Because I think that'll give you a bit more clarity around what you're in for.
Yeah, in terms of also setting expectations and I guess looking at it from not a perspective of how fast can I get there. I think also understanding that things might not go according to the plan and you just have to be okay with that, because I will, like you say, what is the alternative here?
Well, the alternative is you quit or you keep going.
Yeah. And so I think it's just important to understand it's not always going to be comfortable. Well, it's probably not going to be comfortable ever.
No, it's not. Trust me.
But that's how you grow and that's how you get better and that's how you solidify one thing and then add in the next. But also, understanding that it's not going to go the way you want it to all the time. So yes, you may have had specific expectations. They may go a little bit different, but that's okay. You just need to look at it objectively, reassess, and then plan ahead.
Yeah, you just pivot. And you go, okay, well, how can I like get back to what I was doing, or how can I like make tomorrow better? I also breaking things down into a day by day so that you just focus on what you can control today. Because if you're anything like me, I'll think like 10 million miles ahead, and that's not helpful right now. So I totally understand that. I feel like this has been good because I've been able to learn a bit more about you and like reflect on my own journey, because I know it's so easy to just sit here and go, you need to be more disciplined and just like follow through. But it's not easy.
Nah.
But I also think though, if that's what you're struggling with, that's when accountability matters the most. So I would argue like that's what getting accountability is for. But I hope that this has given you like some insights and tips and tricks on what you guys can do to just navigate your own mindset around fitness, because we know it's not an easy road. It's not always an easy, I guess, thing to do. It's not meant to be though, which is where it's like, again, that expectations versus reality. But learning as well that if you are really, really eager to reach the goal that you've set for yourself, you should just keep going and not give up until you get there, regardless of how long it takes.
And I also just want to preface that I don't do 2 sets every time I go to the gym. I don't want people to think that that is like what I do. I'm not lazy. It's very rare, and I will have you all know I train consistently.
Oh, do you?
I do.
You're training more consistently than I am at the moment.
Yeah, and now I'm injured, and I have actually been training very consistently in my upper body. I just can't do anything in my legs.
You're going to get jacked in your upper body, and your legs will be like pins.
Yeah, well, that's all I do anyway, so my training intensity for my legs is very different to my upper body.
Oh my God. All right, guys, we'll see you later.